Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
How are y'all enjoying this weather? Oh, yeah. Walked the dogs this morning and didn't get eaten alive by bugs. It was beautiful. So we're going to be talking this morning about something Antoinette's already talked about. Let's have a look. Anyone recognize this? Anyone have a struggle or have had a struggle with coffee or caffeine? Very few hands. That's impressive. Okay, so we have coffee, which is kind of the Cinderella of caffeine. But I'm going to be talking about something else today, which is her ugly stepsister. So let's look at energy drinks. Who's experienced these before? I'm the only one in church. Oh, two other people. Well, praise the Lord. So these energy drinks were sold as a coffee alternative for those who weren't interested in the taste of coffee. And I remember when they started out, they were, well, I don't remember the original ones, but in my time they were marketed more to younger people. And we thought they were the greatest things, except for the Monster one. That was something else. But anyway, the first energy drink came out in 1949, and it was called Dr. Enough. Interestingly, it has the label doctor on it. Let's see what else was being promoted for health in the 1940s. Who's seen these? Anyone? Dale, I know you. More doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette. Let's see the next one. Viceroys filter the smoke. As your dentist, I recommend this. Let's see the next one. Oh, this one, you can lose in 5 years. You can go from the picture in the back to the picture in the front. So it was a weight loss tool. And the last is my favorite. It says, taste isn't the only reason I smoke. People are always telling me that smoking causes low birth weight. Talk about a win-win-win. An easy labor, a slim baby, and the full flavor of Winston's. So science changes and evolves. I work in a scientific field and we like to promote science, but yes, there are improvements, there are changes made, thank God. So the first study on these energy drinks was started by a doctor who worked in the emergency room, and he had a lot of military men that would come in, and they're very young, and they all were having cardiac issues, which is not, these men are young, they're in shape, but all they had in common was these energy drinks they're drinking. So they started doing some studies and didn't find anything. Well, a few years later in 2014, they extended the study, they made it more specific, and they did a longer timeline after drinking the drink. At first, they would only test their blood pressure and what have you a half hour later. They extended it to an hour or so later. There were things that complicated it because, you know, younger people, sometimes they would, a lot of times they would mix, especially the Red Bull, they would mix them with drinks, or they're going out binge drinking, or they would take them with drugs, or they'd be taking birth control pills and things that would kind of alter the results. But they did an actual study and found that it was messing people's EKGs up. It was increasing blood pressure and keeping it up. And it was also, one of the claims of caffeine and energy drinks is to what? Make you mentally more alert and aware, but it was finding that it was decreasing blood flow to the brain. So you weren't getting smarter, you were getting maybe a little stupider. So let's go to the next one. So what's the difference between coffee and energy drinks? Because they weren't finding the same effects with the coffee, maybe very long term. Let's go to the next one. They were showing with these energy drinks that on the EKGs, the heart tracings, they were showing an increase in fatal heart rhythms and in very young people. And in fact, such an increase that some pharmaceuticals that made a lot of money were being pulled from the market for causing less fatal rhythms than this. But interestingly, it's still on the market. And I remember being young, and we would joke about these drinks, and we would call them crack in a can. And interestingly enough, there was a comedian that came out and did skits about the energy drinks being a liquid crack. And he did a whole series on these. And of course, we thought they were really funny. Let's go to the next one. Well, interestingly enough, Red Bull was found to have what in it? Cocaine. Small amounts of cocaine. And when confronted with this information, they said, well, we add the coca leaf just for flavor. But they had to take it out because, you know, you can't be selling cocaine legally. So that was removed. So we have with increased blood pressure, other things come with that. So next one, increased stroke. So you're having young people, teenage guys, having strokes. One of my best friends works in an emergency room, and I asked her, what do these drinks do? She said strokes. We have a lot of people come in with strokes, a lot of young men especially, because they'll binge drink and drink a bunch of these energy drinks. And, you know, 23, 24, 25-year-olds having strokes. And the next thing, increased heart attacks. And one of the things that these drinks do is they prevent your blood vessels from contracting and expanding normally. So that can bring with it increased risk for aneurysms, which is your blood vessels bursting and bleeding out. So if a big one bursts, you're in trouble. You're probably going to die. So what's the difference? These are sodas, right? Well, interestingly enough, sodas, they can control the amount of caffeine and additives in them, but these are not classed as soda. They're classed as a nutritional supplement. So they can get away with adding, it's not only caffeine, there are other ingredients along with the caffeine that work together to cause all these adverse effects. So you're getting a lot of stimulants packed into one can, not just caffeine, but things like ginseng and what have you in high amounts that are not meant to be taken on a daily basis. And you put all these things together and they're causing these effects. So what are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to stay awake? Anyone get sleepy? Anyone use this to stay awake? I know we've covered this and we're going to be covering all these things pretty soon again. But it's the 8 laws of health with Ellen White. So we have nutrition, exercise, water, sunshine, temperance, rest, fresh air, and trust in God. So there's a way around this. We have to do these things and maybe slow down a little, those of us that like to run around and do too much. So there's a way around energy drinks. So anyone who's tempted to ditch the coffee, like Antoinette said, and start energy drinks, just keep some of these in mind. Thank you.